Oh, and this is how we get down. What's good, everybody? George, I see you. I'm not on the bench sipping a margarita. I'm back in the friendly confines. Now, it may only be for one day this week because I've got jobs. I got JOBs. Later this week, PGA Tour, I'll be on the call. But for the here and the now, you guys know what time it is. This is the fastest growing show in all of pro wrestling. Our numbers are shooting through the roof because of all of you. We're here every single Monday and Thursday live. You can also catch us on demand as well. This is the Coach and Bro Show. I am the coach, well over a decade inside the WWE. My partner, as always, from russosbrand.com, the greatest wrestling writer in all of America, all of the world. The man is busy as hell, but man, this is my favorite hour of the entire week. Vince Russo, good afternoon, sir.
What is going on, Coach? It is Monday. I am ready to rock. I am ready to roll. And those of you that want to be part of this conversation, please do it through a super sticker or a donation. Coach and I are working as his producer man. This is what we do for a living. And Coach, there is a lot to talk about today if people want to get involved in the conversation.
There really, really is. That's the only way. We've got so many people. I see the chat already. It's popping. That's the only way you get your voice on the show is through a super sticker. But so many of you already know that. But Vince, before I even get started, you know, we're really growing fast. I don't know if you've seen the numbers the last couple of weeks, but exploding would be the word that I would use. And then sometimes you go into business for yourself on the what we call the social medias of the X. So I open up, I'm getting ready, and this is what I see today from you. Explain yourself, sir.
Yeah, listen, you know, Coach, there was an infamous WCW match. I believe it was Nash and Hogan, I believe. And they always accuse me of this, but I was not working for the company at the time. And Nash gave Hogan, or Hogan gave Nash, one of the two. They called it the finger point of doom, the finger poke of doom. And everybody rips that to this day. That was about 20 years ago. I just wanted to put Triple H over with the triple point of death. Every time there is a picture of Triple H pointing at somebody, they're going to lose their job, bro. And listen, I'm not saying that. I got the proof right here. If you are ever in the vicinity of Triple H and he happens to point to you, even if it's by accident, either take out a huge life insurance policy or run for your life. And here we've got Triple H pointing at Amber Moon. Here we got Triple H pointing at Ricochet. Here we got Triple H pointing at the Bearcat. And look at the last photo, Coach. Triple H pointing at VKM, the finger point of death. Bro, it's a thing, Coach. It's a thing.
That's what we're going to call it from now on. The finger point of death. That's what we're going to refer to it as. So should we make it finger point of death or finger point of doom?
They use doom for the other one, so let's call this death.
We'll call this death. Okay, we'll call this death because I think there is something to it, and that's where we're going to start this week. We already have a couple of super stickers in the chat. We'll get into those. Producer man, we'll do it the same way we did last week. Just send me over a text. We'll get to the super stickers in a second, but we got to start with a couple of topics that we need to get into. And Vince, this is always the time of year, and this made headlines. And I put out a tweet myself, and I was like, well, WWE employees are getting fired behind the scenes, and talent is next. And, of course, they're like, Coach, this happens every year. It's nothing new. You're out of – I said, no, I was just explaining that talent is coming next because, Vince, they are now not only getting rid of talent, but behind the scenes, creative people are getting dropped. Anybody – you talk about the finger point of doom. How about the address of death? If you have a Connecticut address right now, you might want to start looking for a new job because they are slicing and dicing behind-the-scenes workers who have been there for years. They've done nothing, Vince. And then you had, of course, the several names, but three of the biggest, Dakota Kai, Braun Strowman, and Shayna Baszler, among others, got cut. It's always difficult because they're names on a piece of paper, but these are real-life human beings that now have to figure out, how am I going to make a living moving forward?
Yeah, no, Coach, I agree with you 1,000%. And again, guys, what this is all about, because I know I got to cover Coach when it comes to this, guys, because I have no interest in burying the WWE. Burying the WWE does nothing for me. What I look at all the time, Coach, is I kind of two things, really. I look at everything from a business perspective. I look at a lot of things from a sports and athlete perspective.
Mm-hmm.
Now, Coach, you know I'm a huge baseball mark.
Huge.
In baseball, they have scouts. Scouts are responsible for signing the superstars of tomorrow. So now they draft somebody out of college. Now we're going to put them through the program. They're going to go single A, double A, triple A. We're developing them for the pros. So, Coach, a lot of money is being invested in that player.
Yes.
Somewhere along the lines, if that player does not deliver, they are FDA'd. In other words, they are let go. So a lot of investment was put into a player, and then they realize this guy ain't got it, man. We're cut him loose. We're wasting our money. However, here's the difference, Coach.
Okay.
That scout is going to be held responsible. You were the one that drafted him. You were the one that says this was his potential and this is what he was going to turn out. And we let him go. Now, if you're a scout and there's a couple of those, Coach, you're going to be out of a job. I say this all the time. This is my biggest beef with the WWE management.
Okay.
Nobody is ever held accountable. There are so many people, Coach, I am telling you, I don't watch NXT. When I see these people from NXT come up, Coach, I will look at them for the first time and I will say, that person is never going to get over. How does Triple H not see that? How does Shawn Michaels not see that? That person doesn't have the it factor and they're never going to get over. Now, you guys got to understand, every time a Shayna Baszler is cut, every time a Dakota Kai is cut, every time somebody like this is cut, this is a monetary loss. They spent thousands and thousands and thousands investing in this product, in this wrestler. And then after we put him on TV, after we put him on the main stage, Coach, it takes us 3 or 4 years of an investment to realize they're never going to get over. And like I said, man, somebody needs to be held accountable for that. These guys are never held accountable for that.
I want to let that kind of wash over. I just want to let that sit for a second. And I really want the difference between our show and every other show out there is we talk about the bigger picture things. We talk about the business side of things. And I really want you guys to listen and hear what Vince was just talking about, because we don't get caught up in the emotion of it all. We get, I was there for probably, I know I was there for 13 of these type of situations. And the problem is, Vince, is that at least in this specific instance, Triple H has hired a lot of his buddies to be in these spots. So you have Shawn Michaels, he runs NXT. I'm not saying he does a bad job. I've always loved Shawn. And since he kind of made his metamorphosis over into the God-loving person who's very, very religious, I really enjoyed that Shawn Michaels. Then you got the Road Dogg, and he is somewhere involved in all of these. So when you have your buddies that are doing this, I think also, Vince, they look at a certain number. They say, man, we got to have 60 talent on the roster. And what do we talk about here on the show all the time? If you're having a 3-segment match on Raw or SmackDown, then that means you don't have enough talent. And how many 3-segment matches in your career in the WWE did you ever write for?
Zero.
Which means you had enough talent. You had enough competition. And so now you go into some of these names, they're like, oh, Shayna Baszler. She came in with the Ronda Rousey movement several years ago. That was 6 or 7 years ago, Vince, because I was there. I went back for a cup of coffee. And so she's been around for 7 years. And I don't know why you and I can sit here, and this is why we say it all the time, Tony Khan, whoever, we can sit here and look and say this person will get over, this person will not get over. And I don't know why those at the top can't see the same thing that we see. And by the way, Road Dogg is currently the co-head writer, just got promoted of SmackDown. So now he writes for all of these talents that are coming up from NXT that Shawn Michaels is sending up to the main roster. So I'm with you. How they don't see it or how they don't make the decision quicker. And if TKO's in charge, Vince, we know, what do they love more than anything at TKO?
Money.
Damn right.
Yeah.
Money. So even if it's 50,000, 100,000, 200,000, all that stuff adds up. You don't think for a second they're going to sit down and go, look at all these contracts. What do we do? And now the fight's going to be, well, how many talent do we need on the roster to do the TV shows? Because, Vince, this is kind of turning into WCW because house shows are very limited now. They don't believe in them. And that used to be a place for a lot of income that doesn't exist for the company anymore.
Yeah.
Do you think they should go back to house shows to bring in that money or stick with this, hey, TVs?
I think that's what they're going to stick to because, again, Coach, this is what you and I talk about. They're getting $40,000 for SummerSlam tickets. So until that stops, they're not going to go back to the house shows. They know they've got a core that is going to pay through the nose. And, Coach, I got to tell you, to add insult to injury, how ridiculous is that? Two of the people let go were already let go once before. Bro, they let go Braun Strowman and brought him back and let him go again. They let go Dakota, brought her back and let her go. How is nobody responsible? These are blunders, Coach. They're blunders. How is nobody responsible for this?
I think what they would tell you, Vince, is that there's simply not enough talent out there that is good enough at this level. And I know I deal with this all the time in the sportscasting realm. Everybody thinks, oh, anybody can do SportsCenter. Anybody can call Monday Night Raw. That's simply not the case. And in the world that you lived in, to write at a high level for a worldwide audience, there's such a what's the word? The fans are so close to the product now that they think, oh, I'm good enough or I've got what it takes. This is the highest level. And I think, Vince, sometimes they go, oh, well, we got to drop him. They say, well, we don't have enough talent, so we got to bring Braun Strowman back. Maybe he won't get hurt this time. Maybe he won't be injury prone this time. But what did we see? The same thing over and over. And I hate to go back to the, what was it, the roast at WrestleMania. But you remember the big Paul Heyman quote that came out about Braun Strowman? He said, you're not on WrestleMania because you suck. Now, in a roast scenario, okay, that might be funny. I don't know how that would be funny to Braun Strowman. And now you're talking a month later, he gets cut. And so now everywhere you're going to see is, well, this is what Paul Heyman said. And that sucks when you're reading that as a human being. And now Braun Strowman, who is 7 feet tall, where does he go to earn a living even close to what he was making before? That's what I always think about, and that's the part I feel worst about.
Well, what I think about, Coach, is how do you look at a guy his size that is an absolute freak of nature? My next-door neighbor does not look like Braun Strowman, I could tell you that. Did not cut a bad promo, had a certain level of charisma. I'm sorry, Coach, if you don't get the guy over, somebody's got to be held responsible like that. Hey,
so what would you do, Vince? What would you cut? Or what? How would you fix it, I guess, is my question.
Bro, you got to fix it by getting writers and producers in there that know what the heck they're doing. Okay. That's how you fix it. I could have gotten Braun Strowman over. There's no question in my mind whatsoever. You've got to get writers and producers in there that know what the frig they're doing.
My prediction is this: that by August 1st, not only will your phone be ringing, but I think it's going to be ringing by multiple people because we're starting to see not only is our audience growing, but they're getting really, really smart. And you see it in the chat all the time. You see it from the super stickers that we have a lot, Vince, I need to get to. But I'm telling you right now, as we sit here and put our head down and just talk about the business, more and more people are saying, I want coaching, bro, because they're making me smarter. And that's exactly what we're trying to do. He is Vince Russo. I am the coach. Let's get to some super stickers. Let's start with the great one. And this guy on social media, Vince, sent us such a nice note.
Yeah,
said we have the best wrestling podcast out there, and we really appreciate it. So he says with The Rock and Triple H power struggle, even if Rock succeeds and gets his way, Is it worth the damage to his image, reputation with the fans? Interesting question, and I think it's a good question, Vince, because right now, they're doing damage control, and Rock is leaning into the new MMA movie that's coming out, and also really leaning into anything that's not WWE related, in my opinion. What about yours?
Well, listen, Coach, we talk about this all the time. We talk about that hardcore WWE fan base that is very, 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 very forgiving. Coach, they hated Vince McMahon too. They were calling for Vince McMahon's head for years and years and years. But guess what? They were still there. So if Triple H were to be replaced tomorrow by The Rock, yeah, they would bellyache. Yeah, they would cry. Yeah, they would carry on. Guess what, Coach? They would still be there.
They're never going to stage a sit out or that's never going to happen. They talk about it all the time. It's happened for years. It is what it is. Yeah. A quick one, the Jeezer, I can handle this one. These bozos at TKO re-signed Del Rio. That's technically not what happened. They bought partnership Vince with AAA. His contract was with AAA, and they assumed the contract. And like every wrestling website, Vince, and every dirt sheet will do, they will write a headline to make it look a certain way so you click on it. Right. They did not sign Alberto Del Rio back. They have his contract. My guess would be it won't last for very long. That's just my gut. That's just my gut. Doji employee says, beyond the script here, Vince, I loved your video about Tony Khan's expressions at the scrum. I was dying laughing. I needed that. Thank you.
Yeah, I got to tell you, man, if somebody says, Vince, you got one or two choices. Pick your poison. Either the Triple H finger point of death or the Tony Khan hug. Bro, I'm taking the Tony Khan hug all day long.
Explain to me the Tony Khan hug. I don't know what it is.
Coach, I'm close to walking off of. Coach, you don't watch the AEW scrums when every talent walks in the door, Tony Khan hugs them like they're going off to war. He closes his eye. He puts it up against their bosom. It's the greatest thing, bro. The Tony Khan hugs are the greatest thing in look, go ahead, bring it up. I think Producer Man might have something. Go ahead.
Oh, no.
Yes.
It wouldn't surprise me if he did, because he's the greatest producer in the history of time. So I think he's working on it. We'll get to it in a second.
Okay.
Because I can see it in our preview screen.
Yeah.
But he's still working on getting it up on the screen. So whenever you want to throw it up there, Producer Man, you can. In the meantime, the super stickers continue to come. This one from Tyler. He says, with WWE acquiring AAA and working with other companies, why release talent with name recognition when you can send them to these other companies and continue to make merchandise money off of their IP? I will say this. The AAA is about a Mexican style of wrestling. You're not sending Braun Strowman to AAA at least I don't think so, Vince. Am I wrong?
No, but that's something very, very, very interesting, Coach, and I'm glad Tyler brought that up because I wasn't even thinking about this. You know, Coach, there were a lot of people belly aching over Randy Orton at WrestleMania with what was it? Everyday Joe. What was Joe Henry?
Joe Henry. Yeah, Joe Henry.
Well, if there is a working relationship with TNA, then why wasn't Strowman sent to TNA? Why wasn't Dakota Kai sent to TNA? Bro, if you ask me, they weren't sent to TNA because WWE felt that even at TNA, these talents weren't going to go over. That is a very, very, very interesting question. Shayna Baszler and TNA? I'm sure TNA could use Shayna Baszler. I thought they have a working agreement.
They do. They do. In fact, the other day, Joe Henry wrestled with the Hardy Boys, and what I would do is this. Is instead of just cutting them outright, let's say Shayna Baszler makes, let's use the number, let's say $100,000. Just use the number, okay? And you go to TNA, who you have a working relationship with, and you say, listen, we're going to cut her because we just don't have the ability to use her right now. Would you want her for $40,000? or 45 grand. And I'm quite certain there's a lot of talent out there that would rather, it's not even being humble, it's finding a place to work and taking care of your families, for God's sake, is, hey, we're going to cut you, but we've done you a solid. And if you'd like to stay on TV, and what I would do, Vince, is if I'm a talent, I'd have to be honest with myself, because I know for certain that when I sit in this chair, there is not a day that goes by that I'm not firing out ideas. I'm not sending emails. I'm trying to do business, and I'm trying to expand as we go. This talent does not do that. They sit around backstage because we've seen it, right? They sit on the cases, and they wait for writers to walk up to them. And then when they get a segment or a interview or a oh my God, I haven't been on TV in 4 weeks, instead of constantly coming up with ideas, even if they suck. And you could use TNA television to your advantage by doing that. And why TV time is paramount. Wouldn't you do that as a talent?
Well, you know what, Coach? Let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Okay. We don't know that they didn't do that. So let's give them the benefit of the doubt. Maybe they did that. However, if I'm management of TNA and they didn't do that, and these talents were just let go without possibly thinking about TNA and maybe something could be worked out, then I'm going to start to think that maybe this relationship is a little one-sided. But again, people thinking I'm looking to bury WWE, let's give them the benefit of the doubt, Coach. Maybe they did that. Maybe they did that.
Yeah, we're talking about the business of wrestling. And I think the more shows that we do, the less messages we get like that. Because people who really watch the show and don't look at headlines on dirt sheets realize what this show is truly all about. Good, bad, indifferent. A couple of super stickers, Vince. Why don't you work with Razor Fist?
Look at these hugs.
Oh,
look.
No,
I want you to really get the emotion of these hugs, Coach. Look at the one on the bottom right. Look.
Oh, my gosh.
Coach, this is every scrum. Whenever somebody walks in, this is how they're greeted.
Well, Bryan Danielson the other day said he did an interview, and he put over Tony Khan as literally the nicest human being on planet Earth. He goes, there's not a nicer. And he said, I would rather work for Tony Khan than at any point, basically, in my time at WWE.
But with all due respect, looking at Moxley's face, I'm reading, get the F off of me, Coach. I don't know about you. That's what I'm reading in that photo.
By the way, real quick to kind of put a bow on it, last week, they clearly are working together, Vince, because Trick Williams from NXT attacked Joe Henry from TNA at the end of the show. So they're writing these shows together. So there's no reason in my mind why you couldn't do this.
I agree 1,000%. 1,000%.
All right, you're watching the Coach and Bro Show. We're here every single Monday and Thursday around 1 p.m. Eastern time. But the easiest thing to do, because there might be changes coming up, you never know, is subscribe to our BTT YouTube page, turn on the notifications, and every time we start a show, you'll be notified, and you can come in and be a part of the conversation. There are 2 stars right now. My goodness, I can't, Vince, we're so popular with super stickers that I can't even get to a next topic without one coming up, which is amazing.
Maybe I mean, Coach, should we do these as we go along, or should we hold them off to the end? What's easier for you so you don't lose the flow?
Look at you and thinking about my flow.
I'm thinking about you. I'm thinking about
I think we should do them as a, you know what? We'll do them like every 10 minutes. So in like 5 minutes, we'll do all of them. Producer man, send them to me. And everybody in the chat, hold off. We'll get to every single super sticker, I promise you. And I have them right here on my phone. We got you. So there's, when you talk about positive movement and positive stars, Karrion Kross and Logan Paul right now are 2 guys that the WWE is really leaning into. And I absolutely love it. I wanted to kind of bring it up today because remember at WrestleMania, when Karrion Kross sat down with Sam Roberts and he did what we didn't know if it was a shoot interview or a work interview. Then we saw him on the show a couple of days there. Okay, it's a work. But it was so convincing that I thought he was, and he may legitimately be pissed, but it was part of the show. And now he shot a documentary while he was at WrestleMania. And if there was ever a guy, in my opinion, that you would lean into, it is Karrion Kross. And then you add in Logan Paul, who recently did a podcast interview after Raw or SmackDown or one of those, and he said, I'm the guy, and I want to be full-time. My phone is on. Triple H, call me. Those are words from Logan Paul. So if you're TKO and you're the WWE, are you not locking these two guys up and then finally pushing them to the moon?
You're not, Coach, and I'll tell you why. And now we have to ask ourselves the question. And again, guys, this is where I'm talking to you square because I was involved in this. You got to ask yourself the question. Coach just pointed out two very, very, very talented individuals. And when you look at this television show, it looks like one is in good favor with the company, the other is not. Why? If they are both extremely talented, why does it seem one is in good favor and the other is not? I'll tell you why, bro. Because Karrion Kross, bro, I've met this dude one time. I've had some interaction with this dude. This is a brilliant guy. He's got a brilliant mind. And I guarantee you, man, Karrion Kross cannot help himself but to pitch ideas. And having met the guy, I'm telling you guys, this was a yes sir, no sir guy. So there's no question in my mind that he is presenting ideas in a very respectful way. No question in my mind he's doing it the right way. However, Coach, when they feel that you are smarter than them, you've got a problem. Bray Wyatt was smarter than them because now if you're smarter than them and you're able to come up with ideas and they are not, who is being exposed? You are. So now this guy that could make you money, now all of a sudden this guy becomes the enemy. And we got to keep a thumb on this guy because he's smart enough. Coach, listen, man, I'll tell you right now, you've got guys like Karrion Kross. You got guys like Bo Dallas, bro, who was cutting unbelievable promos. You got, who was the other guy? Sam Shaw.
Okay.
Can you imagine those three guys on the creative team? Can you imagine those three guys on the creative team? Why aren't they on the creative team? Because they're smarter than the creative team. That is why. But when you are smarter than them, Coach, and they know it, that's the death knell, Coach.
Wouldn't it be nice, because this is kind of the world I'm in my career right now, is I refuse to be put in a box anymore. When I was at ESPN, oh, you're the wrestling guy. Then when I went to PGA Tour, oh, how can you know wrestling and golf? Then, well, you're PFL. How do you know? Because when you study it and you know it and you spend time in it, you can become an expert in it. And right now, wouldn't it be amazing if they went and looked and said, I don't care if they're still active. I don't care if they're only 33 or 34. Why can they not have good ideas inside the creative room as well? Instead, they have these 22-year-old kids who they hire on a 3-month basis, and most of the time they wash out because they hate the life. You think it's so cool to ride on the private jet until it isn't. And to me, a lot of the best minds are being left on the bench. And I think you bring up a great point.
What guys, when you think about it, listen, those three guys that I just mentioned, Karrion Kross, we've seen what he could do. Bo Dallas, as Uncle Howdy, was cutting some of the best promos of anybody on the roster. Then you look at the performance of a Samuel Shaw in that character. Coach, how are two of the guys aren't on the show and one of them isn't being featured? You're going to sit there and tell me something's not wrong with the system?
Completely. And then on the other side, you've got a guy who has been very open about, everybody talks to me about being a part-time performer. If he's still talking about events, that means he's still hearing about it. And right now, Roman Reigns, and I can't remember who did the interview. I saw somebody who put over Roman Reigns, I think it was Cody, one of them. Anyway, they're talking about how he's earned the right to be a part-time performer with everything he's put in over the years. The flip side is Logan Paul does not have the right to be a part-time performer because he has not put in the work as long as Roman Reigns has. But I would argue in this new 2025 of pro wrestling, I don't want to see a guy 52 weeks a year. I'll take him 45. And if I have a chance like they have with Logan Paul and Vince, they're putting him in the World Heavyweight Championship match against Jey Uso. What does that tell us? That less than a month after WrestleMania, you're going to put Logan Paul against Jey Uso? And to me, you're giving Jey Uso the rub, not the other way around. Do you agree with that?
Coach, I was just going to say, what that means is without a shadow of a doubt. And keep in mind, man, Logan Paul was an internet influencer. That's what he is. Without a shadow of a doubt, Coach, they need Logan Paul more than Logan Paul needs them. If Logan Paul dropped the WWE tomorrow, they don't miss a beat. The problem is you've got an internet influencer that is more over than 80% of your roster. So again, Coach, something's not wrong with the system. That an outsider is better than people that have been in your system for 5 years? Something's wrong, Coach.
Vince, I have to severely disagree.
Oh, boy.
With something that you just said.
Oh, boy.
80%?
You're right, man. I'm giving him the benefit of the doubt. You're right.
I'm saying like 95.
You're right.
I'm saying this dude is over like freaking Rover.
You're right.
Every 10 minutes, this is because we have so many super stickers. This is what we're going to do. Because you guys want to be a part of it, we want you to be a part of it. Every 10 minutes, we'll hit all the super stickers. So keep them coming. Producer man will send them to you, and we'll just go through them in between topics. So, Vince, let's start with Tyler again. With WWE not having house shows or the overseas tour after WrestleMania like in previous years, why do you think they let their biggest stars on SmackDown take a break from TV at the same time?
Because something's wrong with the system, guys.
There
really is something wrong with the system. And guys, can I also point out to you, please, I did it, guys. Coach, you can literally give somebody a month off, know they're going to be off for a month, have them at the last TV, and shoot enough with them that they would be in the next 4 episodes.
Thank you.
You guys.
But what has to happen, though, for you to do that? What has to happen?
You got to work, number one. That you got to work and you got to plan, number one. Number two. So again, like, guys, I did this. If we knew Austin wasn't going to be on the show, Taker, whoever, we shot with them in the back that we used in the next 2, 3, 4 weeks, guys.
You got to plan, though. And you got to back it up from not just – and this is why Rock on McAfee was so ridiculous when he said, oh, I showed up to save ticket sales, not to have the biggest storyline heel turn of all time. So it was about ticket sales that if they would have been sold out, would he not have been there? Would we not have then had that storyline leading to WrestleMania? I don't know. But he made it sound like it. He really, really did. All right, Cliffside. The Attitude Era had escalating conflict during the 4-week build-up to each pay-per-view. Did you and Ed write out each plot point at the start of each month and then make adjustments as the weeks passed?
Yeah, Cliffside, we wrote from pay-per-view to pay-per-view. That's how we wrote. So, we know what the pay-per-view card is the next month, and that's what the 4 weeks of television is going to be. So we literally wrote from month to month to month, making the adjustments as we went along.
Very good. Bob says, WrestleMania 40, Rock pins Cody with a lethal people's elbow. I've taken a few of those. WrestleMania 41, Cody kicks out of 4 AAs, but cannot overcome the dangerous 160 pounds of Travis Scott. Just awful. On top of that, Vince, and I love John Cena as much as I love Cody, but they missed the shot by probably 6 inches, 8 inches.
Yeah.
It just the whole thing. And if people are still talking about, what was it, April 17th? We're now May 5th. I mean,
well, on top of that, Bob M., what do I always say, man? You've got to protect your talent. So what happens, Bob, is what you just said, and we've not heard from Cody Rhodes since. That's how you protect your talent, by not hearing from him. No, bro.
At all.
That's how you bury your talent. That is how you bury your talent.
I cannot tell you, Vince, how many times I call it the first run, we would do what you just talked about, where we would tape stuff well ahead of time, and you would walk in and we would have not a script, because they trusted us to have they said, Coach, you know your character. We don't need to write for you. But they said, here's what's going to happen over the course of the next 4 weeks. And all we would do is just make it look like we're not in the same arena, which is very, very easy to do. You can go into a room, into a locker room, whatever the case might be, and you just got to make sure everything's written out. And then clothing is very important too. You got to have a change of clothes.
Yeah.
But those things are details that at a company at that level, that should be a walk in the park. That should be 101.
Yeah.
101.
And 101, guys, is always, when you're a talent and you're writing for a talent, you always have to be in the moment. So like Bob just pointed out, the way Cody loses that match, Cody's in the moment by not being heard from for the next 3 weeks. That's Cody being in the moment. No, bro, that's creative burying Cody Rhodes.
No doubt about it. By the way, I've had several tweets, Vince, go viral the last couple of weeks because so many fans are finding us, and I'm really blown away, and it actually means a lot to me, to be honest with you, all kidding aside. But I put out a tweet last week that got like 700,000 views, and it was responding to the general manager of Raw. What's his name again?
Adam Pearce.
Adam Pearce. So Adam Pearce goes on and does some BS video where at the end he goes, and that makes it official. And I'm like, you just told me by having The Rock on McAfee that this is straight entertainment.
Yep.
That it is not real sports. It's not real at all. We're going to show you everything. And then what do, Vince? They go on social media, and Adam Pearce says that Gunther, instead of just, hey, we gave him some time off, he's been suspended, he's been fined, when we simply know that is not true.
Yep.
But yet they want us to believe sometimes. But then the other times they go, nope, we're going to shove it down your throat. And I had so many people support my tweets about, allow me to decide, Vince, if I want to be told everything or shown everything. Allow me to have my mind suspend the reality so I can enjoy this business for what it is instead of always telling me what I should consume. And this is a perfect example of that. You want us to believe that Gunther's really been suspended for putting Pat McAfee in a chokehold? That's ridiculous now.
Yeah, Coach, me and Ed Ferrara, we used to take great pride in when we used to write the show, we used to consider it a thinking man's television show.
Okay.
You always got to be thinking about it. You don't know what's going to happen next. You're constantly thinking about it. Bro, when you tell me everything's make-believe, there's nothing to think about.
Yep.
What am I going to think about? You told us it's all a show. None of this is real. What am I going to be thinking about? There's nothing to think about anymore.
And the marks that tweet at me, and this is something I did that I realized, you know what? Social media really isn't true. We use it for our content, and that's all I use it for. And I like to have conversations. It's something I enjoy. And if I'm sitting on a plane, you know what I did the other day? I went in and looked at the negative comments about this topic. Coach, you should know. You've been around 20. You should know. It's all been fake forever. By the way, I hate the F word. And it's all we've already known this, so why are you making a big deal of it now? And what fans don't understand now is that they're literally like a blinking red light, all of your biggest stars who enjoyed this 20 years ago and making sure people did not know if it was a work or a shoot. They're now the ones out front because the money guys, Vince, are telling them this is what you have to do. And then when the financials come out, did you see this, Vince? And we'll get back to the super stickers right here in 2 minutes. Did you see that TKO came out with their financials for the quarter and all the names that are on it? Nick Khan is at the bottom. I would still take the bottom because it's still millions and millions of dollars. Dwayne Johnson is 2 names above him. Guess who was not on the sheet of money makers that they released this past week?
I would have to guess Triple H.
Triple H. Nowhere to be found. And these are all the power players. These are all the decision makers. And Triple H is not on there, which even speaks louder that he is not in the room, so to speak, when all the biggest decisions are being made.
What we're talking about here, guys, and again, going back to business, this is exactly what Coach is saying. And guys, we've been saying this for a long time. TKO is an entertainment company. WWE used to be a wrestling company. Ari Emanuel is an entertainment guy. Triple H is a wrestling guy. Mm-hmm. Now that Rock is coming out, we're fake. It's a show. None of this is real. What you're seeing, guys, is a conflict between the entertainment side and the old guard, the wrestling side. Here's the only problem. The problem is what Coach just said. The entertainment side has the power. There's no question about it. The entertainment side has the power. So at the end of the day, Coach, the wrestling side is going to lose. And I'm going to ask you the question. I'm pointing.
Okay.
Who's on the wrestling side that's going to lose?
Well, it's going to be the biggest name.
Triple H.
Triple H. There you go. Of course.
Guys, this is what we've been saying. And what is all of this based on? This is all based on logic. This is all based on just watching what is happening on a weekly basis. That's where Coach and I are coming from. That's it.
It will not change until the financials start to take a hit. Because when you're in that room and you're looking at the numbers, they're saying, man, this business is booming. Why would we change anything? And it's the long-term play that they're not seeing that we talk about here on this show. Right now, the checks have already been written. Netflix has already written the check. USA has already written the check. But when you start to get 3 or 4 years into it, and best believe we will still be here. And now you're seeing 10,000 instead of 15,000 fans show up. Now you're seeing, let's go from 2 nights down to 1, except for two events a year. Those are going to be the things that you start to see because they're focused on the almighty dollar instead of making sure the fan base is rabid about what you're doing. And
Coach, again, if you relate this to sports, okay, you look at every successful franchise, and what do you guys always hear? Now is their window. Yep. Now, the Baltimore Orioles, now is their window. If they don't win now, 3 years from now, it's not going to look so pretty. Bro, this is their window, Coach. This is their window. And what Coach is saying is, based on the data they're getting in, unless you make those adjustments for beyond the window, if you don't make those adjustments, man, you're falling out the window. And
that's exactly right.
All we're saying is there's a lot of writing on the wall right now. You can make these adjustments or you can ignore them. One way or another, it's going to affect your future, Coach. And real quick, and then we got a ton of super stickers to get to. But Vince, one of those adjustments they're already making, word is that SmackDown will now be going back to 2 hours on a Friday night. And I'm trying to figure out what was the first show to say that absolutely would not work because people don't watch on Fridays, much less a 3-hour wrestling show on Friday. So to me, that's a great move by the WWE. And not only is it a great move by the WWE, but it also says something about, the USA Network. Coach, if the USA Network is making money on that third hour, it's going to be a 3-hour show. Make no bones about it. If the company and USA are making money on 3 hours, that third hour ain't going anywhere. They're not going to cut money. Obviously, they were looking at the third hour as a loss.
No question about it. All right, a lot of super stickers to get to, a lot of great questions. Vince, let's do this. Michael Gavin from the Ali Show. Hey, guys, do you believe the recent and previous WWE releases do better in AEW or TNA? The problem with AEW is their booking and TV time, which is why we've said, Michael, that if our phones are not ringing, then Tony Khan and AEW is missing out, because you got best GM in the business right here, best writer of all time right there. But Vince, you talk about a window that is open. This is an open window for AEW.
And that's why AEW needs to make the adjustments if Tony Khan wants to. Guys, I say this all the time. This is Tony Khan's money, Coach. He can do whatever he wants to do. If Tony Khan wants to write a show that he enjoys, that the masses are not good, that's his prerogative. Mm-hmm. It's his money. And I kind of feel like that's what Tony Khan is doing. So unless Tony Khan looks at the numbers and understand where he needs to make the changes in order to draw more people, it's just going to be the same old, same old.
Yeah. Boy, I would love to have somebody get in his ear and have them listen to them. Ron says, my birthday, happy Cinco de Mayo. You guys are great. Ron, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Ron. Very nice.
We appreciate that. Red Cap Uno, the WWE agents overhauled the Velocity Dream. Aleister Black lost the crowd immediately with the way his match was arranged. Basically, I think they're just talking about kind of the return. They had Aleister Black and then Zelina Vega. And I will not even comment on that situation because Zelina, I don't know if you saw it, Vince, but her father passed away a few years ago, and she actually took the United States Championship belt to his memorial. It was a really touching thing, all kidding aside. So it was great for her. Now, professionally, would I have done that to Chelsea Green? Not ever. Because she's over like Rover. But it was a good moment for Zelina Vega to get that, but she's also came on board with Aleister Black.
Coach, you know how her dad passed away, right?
I'm not aware of that.
9/11.
I did not know that.
Yes, that's how she lost her dad, Zelina Vega, 9/11.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. That just makes the story even better now. Yeah. If anybody hasn't watched it, I would encourage you to go watch it on YouTube. Or and she called her mother during it. So I love good stories. And I love good stories in wrestling. So good for her. And if this title meant awesome.
Can we talk about Part B? Aleister Black lost the crowd immediately with the way because you don't bring him back with a match. You don't bring him back with a match. You bring him back with vignettes. You reintroduce the character through vignettes. You build the anticipation of Aleister Black coming back. You just don't throw him in a wrestling match, Coach.
I go back to Jericho all the time. Jericho was the greatest lead up to a character coming onto a show of all time. I think sometimes, Vince, because this is a re-signing. What did you say about 20 minutes ago? They dropped guys and ladies that they've re-signed. Aleister Black has already been in the WWE. So they probably thought, why would we do all of these vignettes? And then to have the crowd go, oh, it's just Aleister Black. Well, if that's going to be your mindset, then why re-sign him at all?
Right. You do the vignettes because you never got him over in the first place. And that's why you let him go. So learn from your mistakes. What did we do wrong? Coach, I remember those vignettes. Those vignettes were all about he was going to go knocking on people's door. He never went and knocked on one door. I remember when I was watching it, I'm like, you guys are building these vignettes about him. He never knocked on one door. And then the next thing you know, I cut him loose.
I literally had a discussion with the executives at the PFL, Professional Fighters League. I've got a major role there now. As you know, I travel a lot with them. And I literally said to them, let's stop competing with the UFC. Let's stop trying to pick a fight with the UFC. Let's put our head down and let's promote our fighters. And then in the next 3 to 5 years, we're going to have fighters that want to come here because we build them up and we push them and we show them that. And that's what I would tell WWE and AEW. If you're going to bring it, you can't assume what the fan base is going to do. Keep your head down, look forward, and just do the right thing and stop reading social media.
Coach, can I say something on behalf of Triple H?
I would love that.
And I've got to say this, guys, because I'm going to tell you something, man. Guys, listen, I know there's politics with every job. I know there's politics in every kind of business, every industry. I understand that. Guys, just so you know, I worked for CBS, okay? I own my own business. Coach has worked for ESPN. We know there are politics that go with every business. Guys, I am telling you right now, there's no politics like wrestling politics.
Oh, God.
So I just want to say, on behalf of Triple H, here's the problem, man. He must be, the stuff we're talking about with Rock and TKO and Ari and all this, Triple H is in knee deep. Triple H is in the middle of this. Triple H has been in this game for a very long time. So if something is going on, Triple H knows it's going on. Triple H could be in a position right now, Coach, where he is absolutely fighting for his life. You think creative is his number one priority when he's worried about his livelihood and his spot and his position? That is why, guys, he should not be in a creative position. Because if he is fighting for his life in that company right now, his focus is not going to be on Aleister Black, Coach. That's the problem. So I want to give him the benefit of the doubt because this guy is probably swimming in it at this point.
And that's where his mind should be. If you're the head of creative, all you should be worried about is storylines for every single talent that you have on the roster. That's where and when Triple H does videos, he goes, well, my team does this, or I have a team that does that. It means he's trying to do 4 or 5 different things to make himself more and more valuable. And there's going to be a lot of people out there, Vince, that say, well, he's got all the money in the world. Why would he care if he gets let go and fired at 55 years of age? Because I think, Vince, when people need to understand whether it's a Vince McMahon, a Triple H, a Vince Russo, a Jonathan Coachman, you've got to have purpose when you get out of a bed. And I remember having a conversation with Vince McMahon back in the day. We were on his private jet, and I asked him straight up, and I said, why do you still go to all the shows? Why do you sit backstage at all the shows you've built? You're a billionaire. And he looked at me and he said, and I quote, because, Coach, this is my purpose. And I've built this, and there was no way in hell that Vince was going to allow somebody else to take the reins of the company that he built into a billion-dollar brand. Triple H, Vince, has the same mentality. This is all he loves. He has no other interest. So if he loses this spot, what is he going to go do? Where is he going to go do it at? I think that's why he might be panicking a little bit behind the scenes. He'll never show it publicly, but behind the scenes, where would he go? What would he do?
And, Coach, I want to point this out. Just let me take a second to explain this to people. Bro, the question is always asked, why did Vince Russo have his greatest success at the WWE, not WCW and not TNA? And then, of course, you have my adversary. Oh, well, because Vince was his filter. I mean, guys, we saw Vince McMahon write television on his own. So if you want to believe into that, you could believe in it. But here's why, Coach, and this is exactly what we're talking about. When I was at the WWE, Vince McMahon had my back. I did not have to worry about politics one iota. Vince made it clear, if you screw with Vince Russo, you're screwing with me. Mm-hmm. I never had to worry about politics. All I did, Coach, is what you said. Concentrate on the shows. When I went to WCW and TNA and nobody had my back like that, half of the time, I was worrying about the politics.
No doubt.
Who was stabbing me in the back? So I was not putting 1,000% focus on the creative. That's the spot Triple H is in right now. And that is why you are seeing creative fall short.
There's no doubt about it. Also, remember, everybody watching at home, it's not like you're a Major League Baseball player and you got 32 teams. It's not like you have a ton of other places to go to make the amount of money. So whether you're a talent and you're a wrestler or you're an executive, I call it boxing out your pension is what I call it, where you're like, nobody's touching this for at least another 5 years. And when you're boxing out your pension, you're not actively trying to make the show better.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
All right,
and
we got a lot.
And real quick, Coach, that's human nature. That's got nothing to do with Triple H. You could put anybody in that spot, bro. That's got nothing to do with Triple H.
We do the same thing.
Yes.
Several more super stickers, Vince, we got to get to. Tyler says, if you had your own promotion, which one of these recent releases would you want to be a part of your team? That's a good question. I would probably go, Vince. I would probably say Dakota of the releases. I would probably say Dakota Kai. Of these, I mean, to me, there's no big stars that were released that I couldn't live without. Any for you?
Well, I would have just said Braun Strowman because of the way he looks.
Vince loved big guys, by the way.
Yeah.
He loved big guys. Andre the Giant, Big Show, Brock Lesnar.
John Studd, King Kong Bundy.
He loved those guys.
Yeah.
That's probably true. All right, Papa Rain. What's up, Papa Rain? He says, I know Bo Dallas was hurt, but they totally ruined the Wyatt Six since the debut. All these contract cuts after Nick says we don't shelve talent. That was an interesting quote that he had WrestleMania week when he took a shot at Tony Khan and AEW saying, we don't sign talent and then have them sit on the bench. Well, that might be true, Vince, but the Wyatt Six, I don't know if there's ever been a bigger fumble of the ball in what could have been really, really great content if they would have planned it out, not gone to Whataburger to take pictures out of context, but all of that. And that lasted, 2 or 3 weeks? Maybe?
Yeah, and also, Papa Rain, understand, bro, I could have cared less if Bo Dallas was hurt and out of action for a year. Him in that spot, he did not need to wrestle. We saw the promos he cut. He was absolutely phenomenal. Him being hurt and put on the shelf should not have mattered whatsoever for his growth.
Why do you think they've completely gone away, Vince, from what we just talked about and recording future content when people are there? So I just did with PFL. We're going to be off for a month. So I spent an hour cutting videos when I was just in Orlando that they're going to roll out over the course of the next month because we have a really good digital vice president. Why do you think they've completely gone away from it? Or is there too much content that they don't have the time to think about it?
Coach, I got to tell you, man, over the weekend, Coach, there's this wrestling company that really wants me to work for them. Okay, so they're kind of not a company we talk about, but if I tell you who they are, you'll know them.
Okay.
Throwing the kitchen sink out of me. These are indie people. And what did they say to me? Vince, all you got to do is show up one day out a month, and we'll shoot enough of you that we can use over the entire month. Bro, this is an indie company.
Wow.
An indie company understands Vince shows up one day, we'll shoot enough with Vince for the month. Coach, again, I have to go back to this because there's no other explanation. Laziness and planning. There's no other explanation, Coach.
I saw Chelsea Green, and I'm such her biggest fan. When she lost her title, and I wish every talent would go watch what she did. Did you see what she did, Vince, when she lost her title?
I don't remember. I do remember, but I don't remember. It was something.
She shot 2 different vignettes on her own. One of them was she was at some monument or memorial where she was, and all these famous names were on these like kegs of whatever, and she was walking down. She's like, no. And then she found a really big star and put her own name over that star and then act like she was crying. Classic. Then she did a vignette where there's a bunch of people standing in like a tunnel with little tiny United States flags. And basically she says, this is it. My run is over. I'm no longer the United States champion. And it was almost like a funeral almost. She was dressed in all black. And I'm like, how many other talent would lose their title, be kind of in the doghouse because you openly question not being at WrestleMania on the card. And then instead of pouting about it, you turn it into content. And that's what everybody needs to look at.
But then again, on the other side of the coin, Coach, what they're looking at is, if we do that, what are the ramifications going to be? Is that going to hurt us even more? That's what they're considering.
God, I hate that. Because
so do I, man.
Oh, God,
so do I.
That.
So do I.
All right, more super stickers. What up, Coach and Vince? Are you guys gamers? And if so, what is your favorite gaming console? Plus, I got an awesome cameo from Vince.
Thank you, Casey.
I play on Xbox One, by the way. Vince, do you take your cameos seriously, or do you just like mail it in and give them like 15 seconds?
Very seriously, and I turn them around immediately, Coach. As soon as I get one on my phone, if I'm not in the middle of a podcast, I stop. I do it immediately.
You know what I've become at Cameo? I've become the fantasy football draft guy.
That's great.
And this past year I did 22 drafts where they'll send me the list of names, and then I'll make a video. I feel like I need to pull a TKO though, because I'm very inexpensive, and I feel like I need to charge more.
Coach. 40
Don't
grand.
You think so?
40 grand.
40 grand for one cameo. Right, we'll put them all together. 40,000. But Coach, it's an experience. It's not just the thing. It's an experience.
It's an experience. Yes.
All right. Otis Linkman says, Vince Russo, thank you so much for your work with Mask Heel, Stevie Ray, and Booker T for the title. You really showed that there's nothing wrong with having fun in wrestling. WWE needs more fun. Truer words have never been spoken, Vince.
In order to have fun, though, guys, Otis, what were we just talking about? Coach, in order to have fun, you got to be on the same page.
Yep.
There are people in that company not on the same page, so it's probably very difficult to go to work every day and have fun.
Do you think my first 5 years, so from 2000, I came at the end of 99, it was like early 20s, and I could tell you this on my kids, Vince, the first 4 to 5 years that I worked there, I could not wait to get on the plane to get to the city. Yep. It was so much fun. Yep. And because it was growth, it was going from a $100 million company to a $1 billion company. And every time we'd show up, and we had 20 guys that could be main eventing WrestleMania at that time. It was so much fun to see what the show was going to be. And then slowly it went away from that because of, and kind of they've morphed that into what it is today. Yeah. Everybody's terrified of getting in trouble, talking behind your back. And I loved my first 5 years. Loved it.
Yeah, it was like the origin of TNA. We were all on the same page. We were a new company. We all wanted it to succeed. And I said the same thing when Tony Khan started AEW. It's going to be this, it's going to be that. And Coach, I said the same thing then. Everything turns into a wrestling company, man. God. If you're a wrestling company, it's going to turn into a wrestling company, and that means politics.
I wish they could understand that if they make a few changes over there at AEW, everything could turn around for them. It wouldn't take that much, but you got to get back to having fun and not just churning out a wrestling show every single week. Have some damn fun. Yep. Wayne's Perspective says, Triple H did his thing as a wrestler, but he should not be in the position he's in. He is overseeing the least creative era in WWE's history. I think he brings up a good point there, Vince, is that in this, I was in the room when Triple H went from wearing the blue jean jacket and the blue jeans and all of that, and he walked in one day in a three-piece suit and tie and a briefcase. And we're like, what the hell is this? And that was the day that he made a concerted effort to show this is what I want my future to be. But a wrestler's mentality, Vince, is how do I get myself over? That's where they start. They begin and end with that. Yeah. So when you have the wrestler's mentality and then you put him in charge of creative, we saw WrestleMania, it was all me. But he's head of creative. I can't even imagine Vince doing any of the stuff he did at WrestleMania. And maybe he needs to take a step back, but I don't know if he would ever listen to anybody in that capacity anyway.
Coach, I got to tell you, and this is a true story, before Hogan and Bischoff came into TNA, Dixie Carter offered me this contract for a lot more money that would have been above and beyond me just being creative. A lot more money. And I said to her, no, this isn't what I do. I'm not good at managing people. I don't want to be anybody's boss. I don't want to oversee areas where I don't have expertise. I am a writer. I am a producer. That's what I do. Coach, not only did I turn down the contract and turn down the money, she got hot at me. And that's how Bischoff and Hogan were hired. But guys, I'm telling you, in any walk of life, please take this advice from me. Bro, at your birth, you were given strengths and weaknesses. And as your life goes on, man, you know what those strengths and weaknesses are. God Almighty gave you those strengths and weaknesses. When you start veering outside of your lane, and here's why you veer outside of your lane, Coach, and here's why they do it in wrestling, for more power. The more hats I wear, the more power I have. When you start veering away from what you do best, you're going to fail. And it's all going to catch up with you. And I think that's exactly where we are with Triple H right now.
I think that is very, very well said. And I listen to you say that, and I look at how I really made a shift in how I live in the last 18 months, but also professionally, because we have all of these shows, PFL, PGA Tour, and I was so consumed with certain things, and now I'm just one foot in front of the other. I try to be a good leader, and I try to do what I'm good at, and that's being a great host and also building brands because of who I learned it from. And once I made that change in my head and stopped worrying about what everybody else is doing and just what we're doing here, things start to take off just a little bit. So I love that advice. Tyler, you win the most super stickers in one show award today, and we thank you for that. Remember when Rock, Austin, and Triple H waited 3+ weeks to get the revenge on the heel? Oh, wait, that never
That's such a great point, Tyler, because again, I do this all the time. Put Austin in that Travis Scott spot. You're not going to hear from him for 3 weeks?
Bananas. Absolutely bananas. The only thing we saw from Austin, by the way, coming out of WrestleMania, he was on Ariel Helwani's show, and they asked him about the ATV and the little accident where he ran into the lady or the thing. And they said, what happened there? He goes, oh, it was an ATV that I was not used to driving, which means what? They didn't rehearse it.
Right.
They didn't rehearse it. And he comes flying around the ring, and he hits the barrier. And, of course, the woman, you could tell instantly, she's thinking, Sue, Sue, Sue. And nobody else even moved, and they were all standing there. And she goes flying back in her seat like it was the worst thing. Stop it. Yeah. Just stop it. You paid $15,000 for your front row seat. Let's enjoy Stone Cold Steve Austin hitting you with the barrier.
Yeah, but can you blame her if she was looking to just get the $15,000 back? I can't blame him for that.
Just reimburse me. I'm trying to figure out, where was Nick Khan? Because he was out there before Austin got done announcing the attendance. Yeah. He was out there talking to the lady. So where was he at? We got several more super stickers. Who wrote the classic Barry Manilow backstage interview with Coach and The Rock back in the day? I still laugh at that one. So I don't even know if you know this one, Vince, but me and Rock, we had several of these, but we tried to make realistic. So we sat down one day with Brian Gerwitz, and we wrote down things that I liked. And growing up in Kansas, Barry Manilow is somebody that I liked. I liked a lot of his music. Mandy, well, you came and you gave. Rock's like, okay, we've got a black man here who loves Barry Manilow. That normally is not two things that go together. So let's write a skit out of that. The cool part about the story, Vince, is we get done, and I believe it was on SmackDown, and the office gets a call from Barry Manilow's road manager, tour manager, something like that. And they said they watched SmackDown. And they saw the skit, and they asked if I was indeed a Barry Manilow fan. And they're like, yeah, Coach loves Barry Manilow. And so Barry Manilow was doing a Christmas concert at Radio City Music Hall. And they said, hey, we'd love to leave you 2 tickets if Coach would like to come and watch it when we come to New York like 3 weeks from now. I went, Vince, and sitting right in front of me was the late, great Regis Philbin was sitting in front of me.
Wow.
But those are the type of things that I love about the business. When somebody watches and they go, hey, maybe this guy's a fan, and I had the best time. And New York in December, there's nothing better than New York at the holidays.
Coach, right? Can I tell you one of my greatest moments? And you'll appreciate that because it ties baseball into it. Okay. Yes. Coach, this is one of my greatest moments. I swear to God, bro, back when I was in WCW, I think it was 2000. I was at my wit's end, bro. They were going off to a tour. We just did a show at the Cow Palace. The next day they're going on a tour overseas.
Okay.
The Giants are playing the Mets in the playoffs at Pac Bell. I'm in San Francisco. So I'm like, brother, you're either getting on that plane and going overseas or you're going to see the Giants. Bro, I got Jeremy Borash, my partner in crime at the time. I said, Jeremy, we ain't going on the tour.
Oh,
we're going to see the Giants. Here's my moment. Here's my Barry Manilow moment, Coach. I'll never forget this. So, Coach, I blew it off, bro. I blew it off. We went to the playoff game, man. We went to Mets-Giants. I think it was 2000. And, Coach, the teams are warming up and this and that. And, you know us, Coach. We always get there. Well, I'm more of a mark than you because you're in it. Always get there early, watch batting practice and all this. So, Coach, I'm there right above the Giants dugout. And I'm watching, and bro, a bunch of the Mets come out. Remember Benny Agviella? Remember that, however you pronounce his name? They all come out, the Mets.
Absolutely.
They all, bro, about 5 or 6 of them. They're pointing in my direction, Coach.
Stop it.
And I'm looking behind me. I'm like,
who are they pointing at?
Remember the night at Roxbury? Me. So I'm looking behind, and then they go, no, you. Bro, they start throwing me baseballs and sweat. Bro, that was my greatest moment ever in my 30-year wrestling career, bro.
That's amazing.
Yes.
That is amazing. When somebody recognizes you like that, because I know when we live in the bubble, I call it the wrestling bubble or the celebrity bubble. I've never sat around and go, oh, who's watching me today? But then you meet these big celebrities and you're like, man, they're just regular dudes too, or regular women too. And they watch just like we do. They just do something else.
Right.
And that always blew my mind when I'd be recognized by another celebrity.
Yeah.
Vince, I can't even tell you. Are you used to this many This is amazing. This
is
amazing.
Lot of super stickers, we got a lot. And it's awesome, and we thank you guys. We really, really do, man.
1,000%. We'll absolutely stay here as long as it takes. Aqua Ninja 89 says, hey, Coach, how difficult was it for you to keep a straight face during the backstage segments with The Rock and when he did the George Rockington promo? I would say, Vince, it was not as hard as people think, because when Vince McMahon is standing there and you know that if you do laugh, that he is going to stick his foot directly up your ass, you're not laughing. Right. And you're not coming close to laughing.
Right.
Period. It's not going to happen.
What was the George Rockington promo?
I don't remember that.
Oh, I got to look that up.
I don't remember that one. We do have another one. They're saying, Coach, who was the writer after Vince left in 1999? So when I got there, Vince, Brian Gerwitz had he wasn't the lead writer for Raw yet, but he was starting to write so many of those classic Rock promos that you could see it coming.
Yeah.
You knew they were going to put it, and they did. I think maybe a year later he became the head writer of Raw, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, it's really hard, and this is the thing that I always feel bad for, because making in this business is very difficult, especially right now as things are evolving, just trying to earn enough money doing certain things. And Vince, I feel bad for these writers these days, because they will advertise on LinkedIn or on all these different, to get people to send in writing samples. But Vince, I don't know that they really want writers that want to come in that are super creative, that have the balls to step up in those rooms and give their ideas and say, no, that's a crappy idea. We should do this. I wish they did, but I don't think they do. Do you?
I don't think so, Coach. And I think, man, if you hire a writer that's smart, bro, that guy's going to be in there 2 to 4 weeks and he's going to understand the landscape. He's going to know how it works. I mean, you learn, man. You learn real quickly.
Very, very quickly. All right, those are all of our super stickers today. Again, thank you guys very, very much. We'll be back on what's today? Today's Monday, right?
Monday, yeah.
Good
yeah.
Lord, I thought it was Thursday. So I have a big. So you can tease me now, Vince.
We're getting big time, guys. We're getting big time. We're getting big time live. This is called live big timing, courtesy of the coach. Go ahead, coach.
I have a big golf event this week. So on Thursday, I unless we do it early, which I don't like to do. I like doing it live because people want to be involved. I will not be on Thursday, but we're trying to figure out. So you and I are going to talk behind the scenes because we're getting so popular live. I feel like we need to kind of expand things just a little bit. So I want to thank everybody for being a part of it. But Vince, if it's Big Tommy on Thursday, if I hear one golf joke, you both are dead to me.
Tony called
Tony, yeah, Tony.
Oh, bro, Coach, I got to tell you, man, I popped so huge. I was watching because I review the Attitude Era every 2 weeks on my platform, and I was watching all Attitude Era, and there was a young Tony Carlucci. They came over to him. It was like Austin and Kane, bro. He leaped over the guardrail like a Giselle. I never saw anybody move so quick. That's my boy Tommy, bro. Amazing.
I've never heard anybody say that he moved like a gazelle.
He did,
I'll be honest
like
with
a gazelle. It was unbelievable, man.
I don't think people understand. If you're watching right now, we're talking about Big Tommy Carlucci. He's part of the Last Word. But this is a guy, you talk about things that make me feel good. 32 years in the WWE. When you talk about people that have knowledge, Vince,
oh, God.
Tommy Carlucci has knowledge.
Yeah.
But he's never had the ability. And what did we talk about earlier in the show? Leaning into people with knowledge that are creative, that understand the business. And this is something that WWE doesn't do. Instead, they get rid of people like Tommy instead of saying, man, this is a dude 32. And so I gobbled him up. And I remember the first time I called him about doing BTT, and he goes, what do you want me to do, produce? I said, no, I want you on the air to give people your experiences so fans can understand truly what this great business is truly all about. He's one of the things I'm most grateful for is how much he's embraced doing this.
Absolutely. God bless Tommy C, man.
All right, that's going to do it for now. If you missed any part of the show, you can watch us on demand at our BTT YouTube page. And do not forget, we have the Last Word later on tonight. And the last thing, we have a big giveaway starting today. We're giving away this. It is a BTT Studios Deemer Box a Bluetooth speaker. This thing is the best on the market, and they made it for us at BTT. So you can sign up. The link is on the page, on our socials. It's going to run for a couple of weeks. Costs you nothing, and somebody's going to walk away with this Deemer Box. It's an amazing, amazing speaker. That's going to do it for us now. For Vince Russo from russosbrand.com, for Producer Man behind the scenes, and for all of you who take time in the middle of the day to hang out with us, it means the world to us. I am the coach. We'll see you next time. There is only one Coach and Bro Show. Take care.